I'm joined now by Sami Elmansoury, who's from the New York division of the Muslim Public Affairs Council. Sami, the President is clearly choosing to respond to this using the instruments of immigration policy. Is he reaching for the right tools?
I think it's crucial to recognize that all of us want the same for our country: national security, protection of our citizens. Our hearts go out to the victims. But at the same time, when we focus only on immigration and focus only on one particular community or certain nations, we remove from the conversation an entire group of individuals who have contributed tremendously to our country. I mention frequently that my grandfather was an Apollo 11 engineer. He came to the United States in the 1960s to serve this country.
But he may well, President Trump is saying he wants to move from the kind of lottery scheme, for example, that exists now, as well as other schemes, onto a merit-based system. So your grandfather may well have made it here under a merit-based system. He has an immigration agenda, which is, many people expected that he would respond to this kind of an incident on that level. So surely you should have been prepared for that.
Merit is relative. Many people who come here, they come here because they recognize that they have different ways they can contribute. Maybe my grandfather would have made it under that system, but another immigrant coming from another country who, as a refugee, just wants to give back to a country that took them in, that's also merit. And so when we have this conversation consistently that is divisive and not unifying during times of attack, it becomes tremendously problematic because it alienates the same individuals that we should be welcoming. And that's, I think, the biggest problem with...
So you would argue that it makes America it places America more at peril rather than making it safer?
Absolutely. I think that when we are talking about a certain group of individuals, whether they are Muslims or whether they're immigrants from certain countries, we are essentially isolating them, making them feel, unlike our values, that ultimately America is only for some, not for all. And we pride ourselves as Americans on being for all. So where is that beacon that we discuss all the time, that we uplift individuals in their times of need? This is the kind of moment when we should stand and say to all those individuals who wish to do us harm that we will not allow them to change our values and change who we are.
But this extreme vetting, he says, look, we know that there are risks attached to certain populations and we need to be more certain of those people that we can allow in. That sounds sensible. What's wrong with that?
The problem is that there's risks in many populations. There's risks all around the world. There was risks several weeks ago in Vegas when 58 people or more were gunned down by an individual who by all accounts was an American and was rooted in this country. And yet we couldn't have stopped that. We didn't know how to stop that. We could have tried at best. So we might be able to use that argument that some in Donald Trump's administration have used, that if you have a few bad Skittles, you have to throw out the whole batch. But are we that kind of country? Is that the kind of country that we want to be? I beg to differ. I believe that we should be a country that, yes, uses vigilance, vets individuals, but has to stop short of saying that a certain group of individuals is simply not welcome.
Okay, Sami Elmansoury, thank you very much for joining us. That's it from us in Manhattan. Now it's back to John in the studio.